What's going on, gamers? So we got an interesting video here by Mannix Goodwin, who says Steam just made Nvidia and Microsoft irrelevant. What he talks about too is how Valve has its own custom operating system, which we know they're using Linux and Proton DB, and how they don't chase AI and how they're still for gamers and why they need to stay private. And how there could be custom-made Linux systems in the future that can be pretty nice to avoid the spyware hell from Microsoft, Nvidia, and all these other tech corpo giants who just want to collect data. And yeah, he does a really good job with it. So we're going to get into this and see how Steam is making Nvidia and Microsoft irrelevant to a certain extent. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Let's go.
There's nothing worse in the world than corporate AI. And sometimes I'm laying in my bed and I'm thinking, is the bubble beginning to pop? Because Microsoft is betting on AI. They're betting on data collection. And for some reason, every time you hear their people talk, they claim that there's this huge demand for it, even though, wow, look at that. There's such a demand for AI, even though literally they have to force updates into your PC every single day, adding as many AI components as possible and prevent the user from removing them. See, Valve, i.e. Steam, the makers of Steam, don't need a plan to end Windows. You want to know why? Because Microsoft are managing it perfectly. What's fun?
Yeah, man. And you know, he's right though, because like you saw how much the AI was writing the code. Imagine how much now, how people are also denying Copilot. They don't want it. Google Gemini is getting in their face. And people are just starting to wake up to how things work now. And he just said the perfect thing. And then you see what happened with that recent deal. They were not chosen to be primary for even the AI data feed themselves. So they started off right there at the beginning. Samsung and SK Hynix had literally said, no, we're denying you that. Actually, we're giving rights to Dell, Lenovo, Asus, and Apple. And they stormed off angry. Because they realized, oh, you guys, no, can't say I blame them. But yeah, good stuff.
Funny about Valve is that their secret plan, ladies and gents, is to replace Windows. You want to know why? Because step one, they're better than Windows, and step two, there's no step two. They've already completed step one. But then again, being better than Windows isn't a huge task. Most people just want an operating system that's not a bloated mess. And what's funny is I'm convinced that the only people who use Copilot are the people who work at Microsoft. Literally nobody uses it and nobody likes it. But then again, never underestimate Microsoft's inability to detect the pulse of its own consumers. We're sitting here today and I think AI's biggest contribution of the last decade, other than creating YouTube thumbnails, will be making people move to Linux. Wouldn't it be funny if they got an entire generation of gamers introduced to Linux in this awesome side effect of how bad Windows is? Because listen, with Microsoft insisting on pushing on the Copilot blow, a gaming operating system is just inevitable at this point. I mean, just imagine, it would be very ironic if in 2027 Linux desktops just blow up because
I think that would be nice. Same thing with like Linux desktop laptops. You guys should do that and team up with some of those manufacturers. And that's why I said that's the thing that makes the Steam machine actually attractive, is the fact that it's not Windows 11 and it has its own operating system. And that's one thing I like about it. So, but like he said, the side effect to this could be that more people realize, man, we do need a dedicated gaming operating system. What do you think Nintendo's always done? You know what I mean? And then Sony uses Linux as well too. If you guys didn't know that, and then Apple has its own stuff as well. And you know, it is annoying because like, yeah, Windows 11 has just it's got a lot of bad rep for it. You know, a lot of people like the older Windows, like 7, and before Vista came too. Vista was not good either.
AI-induced RAM crunch has destroyed companies like Microsoft and
Windows
Google
98.
are pushing AI. I can speak for myself. I just look at AI as spyware. I don't trust it. It's run by a bunch of clowns. They will sell your data to the lowest bidder. They will abuse the privacy that you think you have if they aren't doing it already. They will pull any kind of support.
That's right. I know what he means. That's why you want Bitdefender and yeah, VPN and all that. Because too many creeps and weirdos now have access to low-level AIs, and they just sit around all day in a room thinking that that means anything, but they're just losers who can't live their life. You know what I mean? Because it's like you do realize you're just a loser, right? So yeah, like the people that follow me trying the same thing, but I put them in their place all the time. They're a bunch of losers who tried to install malware, to try to do rootkits in your OS kernel, block away files inside of your SSD, and keep trying to put pull tags in there. Like they're just a bunch of losers. And this is what I mean by like these people where it's like, what are you doing to benefit yourself though? What do you get out of this? Nothing. They're just losers who can't uh build anything with anyone. So they felt so bad, they run to the AI and they cry on it. You know what I mean? Because you're a loser. You're saying you're incapable of building something and fixing a problem. Every time they feel like they have a problem, they go to the AI and cry because they're incapable of developing themselves and growing. And the AI makes these people more remedial. They have mental and emotional disorders and social disorders, and they can't function normally in society. And it is a big problem, and that happens a lot. And so you wonder, like, what is the point of your existence?
For programs and then force you to buy the newer product or just increase their stupid subscription fees. Just look at Google. You know,
Yeah.
Google's revenue source was paid in part by the quote search rankings. But now every time you search something on Google, a stupid AI summary shows up right at the top. So now most people don't even go to sites anymore because the AI summary is right there.
He's
so
right.
essentially Google just, you know, shot themselves in the foot because sites now have no reason to pay for that ad space. The same goes for Microsoft. They spend money on AI just to get rid of their own clients and their own money. So what does that mean for Steam? What does that mean for Valve? Well, Valve is doubling down on their community. You know, for Lord Gaben, taking up more of the desktop market share was taking too long. So you know what they said? Let's just take up more of the console space instead. But the problem is the Steam machine is going to be priced more like a low-end PC than a game console. Sadly, the last of the budget consoles are gone now. It's finished. Valve already implied in the past that there's basically zero margin on the model. So with the component prices going up, it's the obvious thing to do. As much as we love Valve, they're not gonna sell the Steam machine at a loss like most game consoles do. But what about Lord Gaben? Shouldn't he sell it at a loss since companies like Meta and Sony are already doing that? Oh, you naive little hobbit. Look, we all know Valve is probably the most gamer-friendly company out right now, but they're still a business, and the chances of them going through all the trouble of
Yeah, them and Nintendo have always been the peak, and Valve has learned a lot from Nintendo. And Gabe is always like, he was a bit jealous of them, but not in a bad way, but to improve and be better. When we talk about that, they've always like been towards like, man, I can get amazing games on Steam, and Nintendo's like, man, their hardware is always cheap, their games were cheap until like, you know, they don't drop the price. That's the only thing that sucks about them. Um, but other than that, they give more than anyone though and make the whole gaming community better because they create and develop so many games yearly and they consistently keep going and they don't change, they don't sell out, they don't abandon their hometown. They gave the most innovative ideas you can think of when it comes to hardware. I mean, Steam Deck exists because of the Switch design. They've always innovated. And their IPs have always inspired the world. Valve at one point was creating a lot of games too, but when you think about how much they've stopped and how Nintendo through all those years consistently has given so much first party, it's like, yeah, they're the peak. I say if I'm gonna criticize Nintendo, it's dude, drop the price. You know what I mean of your games that they don't, because they have that evergreen effect. But he's right though, like friendly image, like Gabe is a cool guy. You know, Steam has always came off as cool. They had cool ideas. And they both do great things for gaming. Like Steam obviously is not going to be the one to preserve physical for you. Nintendo still does that. Like when you talk about the heart of gaming, obviously Nintendo and Steam, when you go to the PC world, only if you're living in there. And even till still to this day, you see like everybody else. I mean, Sony does good things too. Like I like what they did in the holidays by putting that Pro for $650, the PS5 for $399. But you know, they have their little money hat stuff and all that going on. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, when you really think about like friendly aspects, you think of Steam and you think of Nintendo for the most part, 100%.
of making custom hardware, custom operating system just to sell at a loss ain't happening. I'm still going with my original guess when the trailer came out. The Steam machine is going to be at least at the very minimum $800, with it potentially
Okay. maybe with this RAM crisis, but if they got their stock ahead of time, and I was talking about this in my recent videos before, I'm gonna go with 700 that I hope, just like Linux does. If not, he's gonna have to eat that portal cake, anyways. But um, I could see that possibly happen, but with 512 gigabytes of storage, come on, man, 700 will be the sweet spot. After realizing how insane this is, obviously, I was thinking more a line of 600, but with the way this market is, Valve is adjusting, so it has to be that because that's just the way that it is. 500 is kind of pushing it. It's just like, nah, it's not gonna. I don't give a damn if that wasn't happening. No, I would have thought if this market was in a great condition, they probably would have done 600. But you got to look at them. They're selling you a little bit past entry level PC and a console like experience without Windows 11. So that there's some nice aspects to that, and I'm hoping that they can do some more higher end models, and I think they'll be fine.
Potentially dropping down to the 700 range on sale by next Christmas. It could be 750 at
Maybe.
release, but I doubt it. And anybody expecting that it's going to be $400 or $500 machine is smoking the same thing Gabe Newell is probably smoking on his very expensive yacht he's currently on right now. And the more I think about it, 2026 is probably the worst year to release a system like this, because they probably didn't expect the RAM prices to skyrocket the way they have. RAMs are going up in price by like 300% in the past few weeks and months. I actually saw some kits that went up by like 500%. It's ridiculous. So yeah, it's important to remember that Valve is a corporation like many others. At least for now, their interests are aligned with the users. All it takes is for Gabe Newell to lose his battle with Balrog and lose his battle with Father Time, and we get a change in leadership, and boom, we are back to square one. So I hope every scientist figures out immortality before Gaben passes away. That would be a terrible, terrible thing. We can't let Valve be passed on to someone else who puts shareholders before consumers, which is why Valve should never ever go public. As long as Valve stays a private company, at least we can count on the next 10 years at least that they'll do what's right for gamers. The second Valve goes public, then at that point, yeah, we are FUBAR. I can imagine if there were shareholders at Valve, they would be screaming, "Why are you leaving money on the table, Gabe?" And Gabe is just sitting back with his cigar and he's saying, "You know what? We love gamers more than we love money. It's the right thing to do. Ship it." The only...
Yeah, you have so much anyways. This guy's awesome. That is the right thing. Yes, please stay private and never go public. Public is a cesspool of greed and just ugliness. Like it's pathetic. No, private is the best. And that's why I'm glad that he's deciding to stay healthy, swim, and stay in great shape so that he can monitor something he's built for such a long time and stay on it for as long as possible, so that it could be passed to people he could probably trust, that will not be monopolized or not be manipulated and go public and sell their soul. It's like, yeah, don't do that.
The thing left for Valve is to create a payment processor. That's the final step. We get that, and we get true independence from those very weird people in the background, like MasterCard, PayPal, and Visa controlling us, telling us what we can and can't buy. How about you go yourself? Now listen, I want the Steam machine to work. I want it to be successful. But for the Steam machine to be successful, you need a bunch of people to buy it, so that it gives additional incentive for some of these game developers to optimize their games for Linux-based systems and entry-level PC rigs, which is a win for any PC gamer out there, whether they use the GameCube or not. In the hypothetical world that the Steam machine does end up selling like 20 million units, it will perform better than some DIY PCs with superior specs. You know, the thing is, we shouldn't be buying these absurdly powerful, quote, supercomputers, when in reality we should be demanding that these studios actually optimize their games. The Battlefield 6 developers, when they made their new game run on the Series S this generation, they said it taught them a lot, and that they were allowed to use that to optimize for other platforms. That is...
Yes, that's exactly what Phil Spencer was talking about before. That's what Nintendo does all the time. Where it's like, no, we're going to teach you. You could actually make it for this. And if you do this, you're going to realize that the lowest denominator development pool that you know what I mean? Not being a lowest pool, but obviously it's the biggest pool, but I mean the lowest denominator specs. If you learn how to do that, everything else is easy, and that makes you better because you've learned how to crack that. So you would just be a good developer instead of just, oh, AI shortcuts. with upscaling and get the highest specs and work on the lowest specs whenever. No, 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 no. Start from the ground and actually learn how to be a good optimized developer. You know what I mean? Then when the AI comes, you could just add that in with your great optimization. That's what I always thought that should have been, you know, but in this industry, when people are thinking about greed and rushing things out and then fixing it afterwards and making profit off of people and telling them they need all these specifications when they really don't, they're just being lazy and taking shortcuts and sitting back. It just makes everything worse.
Is what needs to happen with the Steam machine, and you know what, in short, I don't think Valve wants to give the mid or top range players an upgrade. The best case scenario is that they're using it to uplift the bottom half of users. I know a
Hmm.
lot of people who when they upgrade, they just get a new pre-built. That might sound silly to you, but we are in the small minority of gamers who actually build and upgrade our PCs. So if you're a new gamer, I don't know, with a 1080p TV and you don't already have a PC, and you aren't really concerned about resolution, then you know what? The GameCube, the Steam machine, might be for you. If you're someone that likes Bethesda games or Cyberpunk 2077, then imagine you getting to play those games with mods versus without mods on console. It's a whole different experience. I mean, talk to every Fallout or Skyrim or Cyberpunk player about how they feel about playing one of those games with mods versus without mods. It's a completely different, stripped down experience. It's like 7 out of 10 without mods and then like a 9 with mods. Not to mention all the full game mods you can get, like Fallout London. So yeah, Steam, if you think about it, Steam has a massive catalog of games that don't even need a fraction of the power that the Steam machine will be bringing. For those people who are just getting into the Steam ecosystem from other consoles, they will have a plethora of options to pick from that they can run from mid to high settings. For those people, it's definitely an option. The big advantage of the Gabe Newell Steam machine is that you don't have to buy new console games at console game prices, because those costs can add up real quick. Because Steam is like, hey, you want to buy a single game? Okay, how about 2 for a discount? By the way, something I seen in another video about the Steam machine, about this whole argument of a company buying hundreds of Steam machines to kit out their office, makes 0 sense. There's no corporation that will buy thousands of Steam machines. The Steam store is the only place you can buy a Steam machine. And Valve could very easily limit the amount of Steam machines each user can buy. And Valve could very easily, with a flick of a switch, just easily limit the amount of Steam machines each user could buy. Just like...
It is kind of annoying too, considering that they could be coming with something like that, and it could have been possibly $600 if the market conditions were right. But with the way things are, they're even messing that up. This is why I'm saying I don't like the way things are going, because it's organically interfering with the natural results of of Nintendo's pricing. Because I think the original Switch should have Switch 2 should have been $399. The pricing of the PS5 and everything going down too, the Xbox going down like it's supposed to, the Steam machine entering the market at the price that it originally wanted to, with Half-Life launching with it, which I believe is a very high possible manifestation, because it's like, it just seems like you got to have that identity with that in there. I seriously think they are going to do that, and it's interfering with the pricing of everything, all cards and all that. Because like, I want natural, honest results, and this is just like suppressing the hell out of gaming, and it's terrible. This guy has a lot of good ideas in this video too. I could tell that he really wants to push for this and he wants it to do well. And I understand why. It's not necessarily about specifications, but about something outside of Windows 11 with its own OS operating system with custom mods. Though Bethesda has now found a way to get past that and other things, because you can like pull up the mod workshops now on consoles and stuff like that. But I still know what he means though, in that aspect. Hopefully $700 is the 512 one, because after that it's still a lot. And most people are still not willing to do that in this economy. But I think when you think about a PC console-like experience, there's a possibility it can be fine. And let's just hope that Valve was at least able to get 2 million made before this insanity, so that you could at least start off with that. Because there is something good about saying, oh, Nintendo has their own OS system in their own world, though it's not a PC aspect. Valve has theirs over there now. Sony's using Linux. None of that is Windows. It's like, this is good. That's one thing that I've always liked about PlayStation, is that it was not using Windows. And Nintendo has their own stuff as well.
Like the Steam Deck, if you don't remember, you'll most likely need an already established Steam account and be limited to
Yeah.
pre-ordering one. Just imagine the logistics behind that. You need an IT department to create a ton of new user accounts on Steam, and then you need to tie them to the corporate emails. And then those people would have to buy each individual purchase one at a time. It sounds like a nightmare. If you go online, you can find a Mac Mini for like $500. I could see corporate officers buying that over a Steam machine. And when I see people say, why won't Valve just tell us what the price of the Steam machine is? Because they know that it's going to be way more expensive than most people think, which is why it could possibly be delayed. See, Valve could tell you how much it would
They're gonna have a
cost,
choice.
but they can get way more free press from people just speculating until it happens. Could you imagine if we ended up getting Half-Life free, Left 4 Dead free, and Portal free as launch titles? Yeah, that's definitely not going to happen, but hey, it would steamroll the launch lineup of every console of the last 2 generations. You know, I've read some Steam fanboys try and cope and say, even if it's above $800, it's fine because it's a PC, not a console. Now, the thing is, I agree with that statement in a nutshell, but it doesn't matter, does it? Because the cost to performance ratio does not match if it's even close to that price. It has less power, get this, it has less power than a 5-year-old base PS5. And we already know that the PS6 is coming down the pipeline, it's on the horizon. But you know what, since we're just speculating, imagine if Lord Gaben comes out on stage and says, hey, it's $99, and just undercuts everybody. That would be hilarious. We know that won't happen, but it would be so funny. But like I said, Valve is not in the business of losing money at this point. I think that this
No, they're not looking to sell 40, 50 million, try to compete and say we need millions and millions and millions consistently, like, and we're going to be dropping a lot of games for it. No, because you're extending what exists already on the PC market into a console-like box. You see what I'm saying? But it does matter that they have that option available outside of the Windows atmosphere that is specifically Proton DP Linux only. And that is the most important thing here. And then saying that, oh, it's not like we have to stay with this. We could have a Steam Machine Pro. There you go, 16 gigabytes of VRAM. Something like a 5060 up in there now, or AMD equivalent. You know, 12-core processor now. You know, 24 gigabytes of RAM or something like that. And that's a very highly likely thing in the future. Not right now, because they have to design that. But I'm saying we could see that in 2028, later 2029, when those other consoles launch. So they can say, oh no, here's your Steam Machine Pro right there. It doesn't matter. It's not like a console, so you're not needing that to say that I'm leaving this behind and the specifications are too far apart. No, it's still PC custom anyways. You see what I mean? So that's where PC won't be limited, because you know, you're not in a Nintendo situation where Nintendo's like, here goes a Switch Pro, but damn, this is like a not too far behind the PS5 Pro. But you're gonna have to like play the same game on these things only. That's it. And this difference is gonna be vast. Like, so we're thinking about that. Like, you don't have to worry about that with the Steam machine. So that's why I feel like that Valve can still make a more powerful version down the line when these prices and this market crashes, the AI market, and something like that happens along with the Steam Deck 2 coming, and then you have an even bigger ecosystem with the Steam family like that. I like that. And then if Valve gets things going so well, they can say, here's Steam laptops or Steam design desktop. I'm just saying, without Windows 11, I'm giving some ideas here. So yeah, this is a really good video. And I see what he means about how they can make them irrelevant. So you guys let me know what you think about this. Leave a comment down below. Let's see what else he has to say real quick.
This thing needs to come in less than $500, sub 500 to even have a chance of selling even close to what they're projecting. See, people don't mind getting something that's cheap and underpowered. That's okay. But what they're not going to do is buy something expensive and underpowered, especially now in this economy, because the Steam Deck in the UK is around £480 for the 512 gig model and £569 for the 1 terabyte model. And because the Steam machine, according to Valve, is 6 times more powerful, like I said earlier, I expect it to be closer to $800, which is just way too much. See, if Valve was smart, they would bundle in this Steam machine with a coupon of like a litany of games to kind of offset that ridiculously high price. It would push the new users
That's a good idea.
buy the Steam Deck and enable them to to invest in the backlog that ties them into the whole ecosystem. At least
That's why I think that if they bundle in both with Half-Life 3, that is the way to go about it. So they can get the prices down later and then just sell it like that. And that's what I was hoping that they would do. So if they do plan on doing that and it's bundled in there with that code, then yeah, they may have to delay it because they can't kind of like separate it, you know? And he has a good idea too with like discount codes to say, hey, if you do this, we'll be able to, use this on certain things and get some deals, or maybe get like some Steam Workshop credit or whatever. I don't know. But those are good ideas. Let me know what you guys think. Once again, I'm glad to start covering different subjects. I've been on the Steam subject a lot. You guys saw that. And Nvidia, I'm covering them too because they have to be covered. AMD is eventually going to have to be added in with seeing how things are going to be going with them. So yeah, we're bringing you guys more diverse aspects on this channel. Thank you for all the support again. Have a great new year.